the Requiem of the Ainu people. Translated from French. Much like the Amerindian nations, what remains today of the Ainu people, once so remarkable and so ardently devoted to freedom, finds itself wretchedly confined to a handful of aboriginal villages. It fades away in silence, abandoned to a fate it scarcely deserves. Before Japanese hegemony, its vast territory spread out, however, in the manner of a majestic tree. The great island of Hokkaido, then called Izo, formed its massive trunk, from which two distinct branches sprang forth. One, inclining toward the northwest, was none other than the island of Sakhalin, Kita-Izo or Northern Izo. The other, toward the northeast, traced the rosary of the Kuriles, Oku-Izo or Izo of the outer reaches, strung all the way to the tip of Kamchatka, at the confines of the known world. For nearly a millennium, Japan had no serious notion of these islands concealed beneath mythological mists. The little it knew of them came from the singular wares it received through barter: shark oil, eagle feathers, medicinal lichen, strange garments sewn of bark in summer and of sealskin in winter, or from distant, unreliable hearsay, which described the island chiefs as giants most wicked and given to sorcery, capable, at their will, of producing rain and raising storms. It was not until 1604 that a daimyo was invested at Matsumi, but he contented himself, as it were, with standing guard. Negligible and neglected, these islands were also the only part of the Pacific to escape the tireless activity of Captain Cook, and on that account, they aroused the curiosity of Lapérouse, who, since his departure from France, had burned with impatience to be the first to land there. In 1787, the frigates under his command anchored off Sakhalin, and the French, having gone ashore, came into contact with a race of men different from the Japanese, the Chinese, the Kamchadals, and the Tartars, from whom they are separated only by a channel. Captivated by their gentle and spontaneous manners as much as by their uncommon intelligence, Lapérouse did not hesitate to compare them to the best educated Europeans. He recounts with wonder how an islander, understanding his requests, seized a pencil to trace on paper a rigorously exact map and indicate by strokes the number of days' journey by canoe. Then came the Meiji Restoration, which would overturn the age-old equilibria of Izo, perhaps even more than those of Japan itself. Through a brutal policy of land clearance and colonization, compounded by authoritarian dispossessions, the central administration subjected the Ainu to the guardianship of a stepmother that erased even the name of their land. In this forced marginalization, their ritual literature, transmitted from generation to generation in the sanctuary of their memory, withered until it was no more than grandparents' reminiscences. Forgotten were the chants devoted to ancestors, Ainu Yuka, the divine epics, Kamua Yuka, and the tales, Uapaka, in which a vaguely personified nature came alive: the sea that nourishes, the forest that shelters, the bear cub raised in the village with infinite care. As Kubodra Ituhiko laments, apart from a few elders, the Ainu no longer use their language, they speak Japanese. The sacrificial fervor of Chiriyuki. It was to ward off this fate that Chiriyuki emerged, torn between her modern Japanese education and the heritage of her grandmothers, illustrious reciters. Knowing herself condemned by illness, this Ainu woman devoted her exceedingly brief existence to transcribing in Latin script, and translating into Japanese 13 divine epics, becoming the young girl who captured the gods as a gift to her people. Her heart ceased to beat at the age of 19, mere hours after the completion of her manuscript.
Ainu Shingyōshū,
collection of Ainu chants. Her aunt, Imekanu, and her brother, Chirimashiho, subsequently took up the torch, publishing imposing continuations. In her preface, whose accents ring like a testament, Chiriyuki intones the threnody of those condemned to vanish.
Horobi-yuku mono.
Where have all those people gone who lived in peace in the mountains and on the plains? The nature that had existed since ancient times is gradually disappearing. The few of us who still remain open wide, astonished eyes before the evolution of the world. Oh, pitiful silhouette in the act of perishing, forced to cling to the clemency of others. The resistance through the spirit of Nukishio Kizo. In perfect counterpoint to this funeral eulogy, Nukishio Kizo refuses the prophecy of extinction. Through his 1934 manifesto, Assimilation and Vestiges of the Ainu,
Ainu no Douka to Senshō,
he rekindles pride in the Ainu name, which, in the language of his people, means human being, excoriating the ordinary man.
人間、
Blinded by self-interest, he calls for the advent of the virtuous man.
人、
In this ideogram, whose two strokes prop each other up to keep one another from falling, he reads the very allegory of our need for vigorous and constant mutual support, in order to remain standing, much as Confucius distinguished the noble man
君子
from the petty man. It is in active benevolence, elevated to the rank of virtue, that the intellectual glimpses the hope of a society at last pacified, in which virtuous men respect the power of nature. In search of departed souls. Just as old Izo has vanished, so too, with these Ainu, brothers of the crashing torrents and of the winds lament through the foliage, do there threaten to fade the sylvan and barbarous theophagy, the mythical communion with the invisible, the wild moors peopled with glorious memories and Kamai gods, and, at last, the primordial intuitions centering upon the idea of Ramat, the spirit, the secret intimacy, the heart of man and of things. We are losing our own share of animism in a natural world that never ceases to shrink. It is urgent to try to recover it, like those shamans of old who would launch themselves on a quest to recapture the departed souls of the dying before they should dissipate forever.